you want to deep dive into the Auckland housing market.
Let's do it.
Awesome. You've come to the right place because we are cracking open the August 2024 Barfoot and Thompson report.
Great report.
Yeah, and I mean, for those who don't know, I'm sure most people listening do, why is this such a good source to look at for Auckland?
Well, everyone knows Barfoot and Thompson, right?
Yeah.
They're huge in Auckland. They're one of the biggest players in real estate. So
Yeah.
when they release these reports, people listen.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives us a really good insight into at least their view of the market and probably where it's heading.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's jump into it.
Okay.
So compass in hand, let's navigate this market. The first thing that jumps out to me is the sales volume. 889 properties sold in August, which is the highest August figure we've seen in 3 years.
It's big.
So it feels like things are heating up.
Yeah.
But then, and this is where it gets interesting for me, we look at prices and we see the median price dipped slightly year on year, but the average price went up.
Okay.
So what's the story there? That seems a little counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's almost like they're telling us two different things, but they're not. They're actually giving us more information, which is really good. So that higher sales volume, that in itself, especially year on year, suggests that things are picking up.
Gaining momentum.
Gaining momentum, yeah. But the fact that the median and the average are doing different things suggests that it's not just a uniform, everything's going up by 5%, This is telling you that the type of properties being sold is probably changing. So are we seeing more higher-end properties coming onto the market, which would bump up that average?
It would make sense if you've got a few, multi-million-dollar places coming in.
Exactly.
Just skews it.
That's going to pull that average up, whereas the median, which is that middle point, it's a little less susceptible to those big outliers.
Right. Okay. So we're seeing potentially a bit of a shift in terms of what's being sold. But what about the overall sentiment? Because numbers are one thing.
Yeah.
But what are people saying? What are they feeling?
Yeah, and that's often what drives the market, isn't it? It's that feeling. And one of the quotes that stood out to me in this report was from Peter Thompson, the managing director at Barfoot and Thompson. And he talked about a quiet confidence building in the market.
Quiet confidence.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Almost like, people are feeling good, but they're not shouting about it from the rooftops.
A good poker face, but with houses.
Exactly. And he actually goes on to say that all indications point to sustained confidence. So it's not just a blip.
Right. He seems pretty sure of himself.
He does, doesn't he? So it begs the question, how much weight should we give to this sentiment? Can confidence alone really move the market?
Right, because I do feel like confidence or lack of it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If sellers believe the market is strong, they're more likely to hold firm on price, maybe even aim a little higher. And buyers picking up on that confidence, well, they might just be more inclined to meet those expectations.
It's that fear of missing out, isn't it?
Exactly.
You see prices going up, you hear people talking about it, and you think, well, I don't want to be left behind.
Right. So Thompson's optimism, if it's shared, could actually influence the market.
It's entirely possible. But, and this is a big but
right.
That confidence needs to have a solid foundation.
Right. It can't just be built on, hopes and dreams.
Exactly. It needs to be backed by something concrete.
Right.
And that's where we need to bring in other factors, like those interest rates that Thompson also mentioned in the report.
Right, because at the end of the day, interest rates are the lifeblood of mortgages. Low rates get buyers excited, which can push prices up.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's definitely onto something there. But I'm curious, this report with all its juicy details, it's just a snapshot, right? It's a glimpse into this particular moment in time.
You got it. It's like a postcard.
Okay.
From this particular point in time, it shows us the lay of the land right now. But as we know, the market's
always changing.
Constantly on the move.
Yeah. So let's say our listener is ready to jump into the Auckland market, right? They've heard all this buzz. They're maybe thinking about buying their first place. Maybe they're even thinking about, becoming a property mogul.
Okay.
What should they take away from this snapshot? What's the most important thing for them to be aware of or to kind of watch out for as they make these decisions?
I think the biggest thing is don't get too hung up on those overall average prices.
Right.
Because we talked about how, a few big sales at the top end can really skew the picture.
Yeah, those multi-million-dollar mansions masking the true story.
Exactly. So go a little closer, delve a little deeper. And for instance, the report points out that 22.3% of properties that sold in August went for under $750,000.
Yeah.
while only 5.2% went for over $2 million.
So you've actually got quite a range there.
Big range.
From like starter homes
Yeah.
to those, dream properties with the ocean views.
Absolutely. So that tells me, there's something for everyone in this market.
Okay.
Whether you're just starting out or you're looking to trade up, there are opportunities out there.
Good news for first-time buyers who might be, looking at those averages and getting a little scared.
Exactly.
So we've got a good mix of properties available. What about the number of properties actually coming onto the market?
Yeah, that's really interesting. New listings in August, the second highest they've been for that month since 2017.
Oh, wow. 2017,
It was a bit of a different market.
very much a seller's market, yeah.
Okay.
So, we're not saying it's swinging back that way just yet.
But this could be a sign of things to come.
Okay, so potentially more options for buyers to choose from.
Potentially. And with more choices, you often see a bit of downward pressure on prices.
Okay.
Buyers have a little bit more power in those negotiations.
Interesting. So sellers, maybe, gotta be a bit more strategic, maybe spruce up those kitchens a bit more.
Presentation is key,
Exactly.
no matter what side of the transaction you're on, yeah. And speaking of things to be prepared for, the report also highlights month-end stock, which was up a significant 24.2% compared to August last year.
Okay, so more properties sitting on the market at the end of the month.
Yeah, potentially a sign that buyers are taking a little more time to make their decisions.
They're being a bit pickier, yeah?
Perhaps. Or maybe just a sign that there's more available. But either way, that increase in available properties kind of, adds to that idea that maybe, just maybe, the market is slowly tilting towards the buyers a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Not a dramatic shift.
Right, but it's fascinating how all these pieces start to...
It all feeds in, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
But, we're talking about trends and possibilities here. We can't predict the future.
Of course, yeah. It's true, we're not fortune tellers, but I feel like we're getting pretty good at reading the tea leaves here.
We're gathering the clues.
Exactly.
And I think that's what matters, right? It's not about knowing exactly what's going to happen, but having those tools, that information, so you can make an informed decision.
100%. Knowledge is power, as they say. So, to our listener out there who's thinking, okay, this is great, but what does it actually mean for me? What would be your biggest piece of advice? What should they be thinking about as they navigate this Auckland market?
I think it goes back to what we were saying before, don't get caught up in the headlines.
Right.
Don't just look at those averages. Think about your own personal situation, your goals, your budget. What are you actually looking for in a property?
Yeah, because what works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. So do your research, ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to the experts,
Yeah, talk to those real estate agents, the mortgage brokers, get that personalized advice.
Absolutely. There's no shame in asking for help.
No shame at all.
In fact, it's probably the smartest thing you can do.
Okay, so before we wrap up this deep dive, there was one more interesting little nugget in this report
Oh, yes.
that I wanted to touch on, and that was the fact that the rural and lifestyle market had its second busiest month of the year in August.
It did, didn't it?
So while some people are looking for that city apartment, it seems like others are dreaming of a bit of countryside.
It seems so, yeah. I wonder, is this just a temporary blip, or are we seeing a more kind of fundamental shift in what people are looking for?
Right, because I mean, I can see it maybe after the last few years, people are craving a bit more space.
Yeah.
A bit more fresh air.
Bit of peace and quiet.
Exactly.
Maybe those rolling green hills are starting to look very appealing.
Yeah, that garden instead of a balcony.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of ties back to what we were saying before about understanding your priorities, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about the property. It's about the lifestyle.
I love that. So if you're feeling that pull towards, a more tranquil pace of life, well, Auckland's got options for you too.
It certainly does, yeah.
And I think that's what's so fascinating about this market. It's diverse, it's dynamic.
Always changing.
There's always something new to discover.
Definitely. And that's why these deep dives are so interesting.
They are.
Because we get to uncover these trends, these little hidden gems that you might not pick up on otherwise.
Exactly. So whether you're dreaming of a city penthouse or a charming little cottage in the countryside, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
Stay curious.
Exactly. Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the Auckland housing market.
And what a dive it's been.
It has been. A huge thank you to you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey.
Always a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, and let's be honest, who wouldn't, make sure you're subscribed to the deep dive because we've got plenty more insightful breakdowns headed your way. And hey, if you're ever curious about something and think it deserves a good deep dive, hit us up on social media, let us know.
Yeah, we love a challenge.
Exactly. Until next time, happy exploring.
See you.